Hello. One definition of madness is to repeat the same actions over and over, expecting a different result. Well, we did that and kept Lies League going through the lockdown. And now look at us. Oh, me. I'm your host. Warmly welcoming you back to Lies League, not in lockdown. Where writers write, actors read, the audience hugs, or maybe doesn't, it might be a bit soon for that, and everybody wins. It's over a year since our first lockdown event, and a lot has happened since. Fools have been kicked out of the White House. Clever scientists have created a half-dozen life-saving vaccines. Big boats have been temporarily wedged in canals. This was more topical around the original April the Fool's date for this event. And little helicopters have flown on Mars. None of which compares to what's going to happen here tonight. As we explore 6 tales of fools and sages. Stories of those who know, those who think they know, and those that know they know nothing. We'll have 3 stories in the first half, and then an interval, where if you stay in your seats, the Phoenix Bar staff will take your orders, or you can use the clever little QR codes for convenience. If you do get up and about, please wear your masks. Then we'll give you the chance to prove just how much you know, or don't know, as we bring you the infamous Lies League book quiz. Try that one more time. The infamous Lies League book quiz! Before finishing off with 3 more tales. Now, the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, or SAGE, have asked me to deliver an important message. If you have downloaded their contact tracing app, or even if you haven't, please put your phones to silent. Otherwise, the founders of object-oriented languages, or fools, will have some very strong words to say. And now, sit back and enjoy as we bring you the first story, which will be He Is Coming by Callum Jacobs, read by Claire Louise Amias. Callum is a writer, psychology teacher, sight-running tour guide, and 4th level phone balancer. When not doing these things, he can be found lying diagonally on his bed, listening to a podcast. He lives with his wife and 2 children, all smarter than he is. Claire received an Off-West End Oncom Award for her play Oranges and Ink, which she both wrote and starred in, about Aphra Ben and Nell Gwyn. Other roles include Mags in Handbagged, Sheila in Relatively Speaking, Liz in Present Laughter, and Maggie in Hobson's Choice at Windsor Theatre Royal and Chesterfield, Pomegranate. Claire!
He Is Coming by Callum Jacobs. He is coming. The poster had appeared in the night. It had been pasted onto the front door of the town hall, not quite straight, as though it had been done in a hurry. It didn't say anything else. There was no extraneous information, no address, no contact for further details, no indication of who he was. Most people saw the poster, assumed it was referring to Jesus, and that this was Reverend Sweeney's doing, the latest attempt to fill the dusty pews in the village church on Sunday morning. when most people were still snoring in their beds, so most people ignored it. It was only Miss Hazelwick who thought it might be something else. She thought it might be something else because she'd seen a sign. Just over a week before the poster had appeared, Miss Hazelwick had been walking to the post office on her lunch break to send a parcel to her sister when she'd seen a fox running backwards. Not running exactly, more trotting or maybe shuffling, but definitely going backwards. The fox had disappeared into the hedge by the side of the lane before she'd had the chance to get a good look, but the fox had definitely been going backwards, and that was not what foxes did. So Miss Hazelwick had been expecting something like this to happen. When the second and third posters appeared, with the same 3 words printed in black letters on a quiet purple background, they were nailed to the door of the Red Lion and on the old oak tree by the pond. This time people started to take more notice. Someone asked Reverend Sweeney what he was playing at, but Reverend Sweeney flat out denied that he had anything to do with the posters. He also pointed out that although he firmly believed he was coming, he didn't think it was likely to be any time soon. Once Reverend Sweeney was out of the frame, people began to speculate more widely on where the posters had come from, and crucially, where they might be referring to, if not to the Almighty. Tom Thwaite, who ran the Red Lion, said he thought it was kids messing about, and that if he caught them putting anything else on his door, he'd give them a thick ear. The Swirling twins, who both worked in the city, were sure it was part of an advertising campaign, and confidently predicted that the next poster to go up would also include some guff about a new brand of washing powder, or maybe a fancy new packet soup. Miss Hazelwick said it was most likely to be more of a metaphorical he, and probably meant that a time of general wretchedness and tumult was on the way, which, she said, was a thing she had quietly been expecting for some time. 4 days later, when the 4th poster went up, once again in the dead of night and unseen by one and all, it was accompanied by the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th posters. This time, though, they were a little different. The colour scheme had changed, from black letters on a purple background to black letters on a green background, and a single word had been added. The posters now informed the village that whoever he was, he is coming soon. There was now little talk of anything else throughout the whole village. All manner of wild theories began to circulate, and a schism was beginning to emerge between those who were rather excited at the prospect that something might be about to shake things up around the old place, and those who were adamant that no good would come of it, and they were all in for some dark times. The mayor was in the process of contemplating whether he should call a town meeting, when his ruminations were interrupted by Esther, his secretary, with news of an important development. There were now reports of dozens and dozens of posters, all having appeared just like the others, with no witnesses, but with some new and rather significant information. The posters now proclaimed, "He is coming on Thursday at 7 p.m. By Tuesday, the level of excitement, or dread, depending on which side of the Vatic divide people fell, had risen to fever pitch. The mayor was secretly quite pleased with the development, as it meant he could defer making any kind of decision and let things play out fully before having to take whatever steps might be necessary at some future point. Miss Hazelwick had spent the past few days upsetting all the local children by telling them that it was now far too late to mend their wicked ways, and that the die was cast, and their fates were well and truly sealed. Tom Thwaites had ordered a few extra kegs of beer, hoping that whatever happened after the big event might be discussed by all and sundry in his pub. The Swirling twins, still convinced that they were about to witness the launch of a new product, had freed up some capital ready to invest, having been seriously impressed by a viral marketing campaign that was doing such a bang-up job of luring in all the suckers. Reverend Sweeney had kept his thoughts very much to himself, but had been praying extra hard just in case. On Wednesday, the day before he was due to arrive, the chatter in the village turned to where the event, whatever it was, would take place. The mayor insisted that no one had asked to use the town hall, and Reverend Sweeney confirmed that the church still had its long-standing booking of the Bible Fellowship group on Thursday evening, so it couldn't be taking place there. Although, he added dryly, judging by the attendance at previous meetings, there'd likely still be plenty of space for another event at the same time. On Thursday, there were two significant developments. In the morning, little Billy Laughlin reported that while he'd been out fishing for tiddlers in the stream by the sheep pasture, he'd seen an enormous marquee that definitely hadn't been there the day before. Then, sometime around 5 that afternoon, people started to notice the posters had changed again. Pasted across every single poster, at a jaunty angle running from top left to bottom right, was a thin strip of white paper announcing, "He is here," with a helpful arrow pointing the way. By 6 o'clock that evening, everyone had heard the news, and a queue had formed on the edge of the village, stretching from the gate by the sheep pasture all the way along the lane to the post office. They'd stopped at the gate by the sheep pasture rather than going straight up to the tent, because sitting there on a rickety stool was an old man. He wasn't from the village. He said he was from up county. When the Swirling twins asked him what he was doing, he said that some bloke had offered him 50 quid if he sat on the stool and checked tickets for half an hour. He said only an idiot would turn down that kind of easy money, so here he was. The Swirling twins were a little suspicious, but when they started to question him further, Tom Thwaites shouted from a few paces back in the queue to leave the old goat alone. So they kept quiet. At 6:30 on the dot, the old man eased himself up from his stool and asked the Swirling twins if they'd like to purchase tickets. The price was £10. The Swirling twins looked at each other briefly before whipping out their wallets and handing over 2 crisp notes. One by one, the villagers trooped in, stumping up their money and trotting across the field towards the marquee. 20 minutes later, when all 500 of the villagers had been admitted, the old man picked up his stool and headed off in the opposite direction. Inside the marquee was a considerable amount of shuffling, jostling and chattering as everyone took their seats. There were no seat numbers, just bales of straw lined up in neat rows, and so there were 1 or 2 arguments as people tried to get the best view or sit with their friends or claim a seat near the exit in case things turned nasty. Gradually, everyone settled down. The straw bales all faced an improvised stage made from wooden pallets, most of which was hidden behind a makeshift curtain. The curtain was held up at either end by wooden poles stuck into the grass beneath. At 1 minute to 7, a hush descended over the audience. The Swirling twins grabbed each other's hands. Miss Hazelwick snapped at a small child behind her to be quiet. Reverend Sweeney said a silent prayer. By 5 minutes past 7, the whispering had begun. By 7:15, it had turned into a distinctly impatient muttering. By 20 past, the mayor, feeling the heavy weight of civic responsibility, got up from his straw bale, moved to the front of the crowd, and cleared his throat. Silence descended once more. The mayor cleared his throat for a second time. When he remained there, looking awkward, Tom Thwaites got to his feet